We need to talk about some of the things that are being released, and if you possibly have those things, if you have, like, I found alternatives. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. If you guys are new here, my name is Stacy. I feature unfiltered makeup opinions and honest reviews, so please consider hitting that subscribe button and liking this video. Leave me a comment through any time throughout this video. Let me know what you're thinking. I've been looking at all of the new makeup releases, and some of them really stuck out to me as like, I think I have that already in my collection. And I wanted to go through my collection, talk about some of these new makeup releases. We need to talk about some of the things that are being released. I found alternatives. Don't get me wrong, I love a good indie eyeshadow, but I really feel like that being a little bit more conscious about what you have in your collection will help you determine whether or not you need some of these palettes. So I firstly wanted to talk about the Silent Night palette. Gourmande Girls is an independently owned makeup brand, and they released the Silent Night palette. And this is kind of like neutrals mixed with blues and a pop of like yellow and gold. And I really love this color story. And I went and I looked at it, looked at the swatches, and I was like, and as much as I love Gourmande Girls, I'm thinking from like consumer standpoint. And the thing that immediately popped into my head was the Christmas Eve palette from Oden's Eye. Now, this eyeshadow palette was released last year. Along with this palette, there was a Merry Christmas palette that was released with it. That's more like reds and greens. And then this one is more, it's the Christmas Eve palette. And it is very like blues. It has some pops of gold. It even has a couple of like green tones in here. But overall, this eyeshadow palette definitely reminded me of the new Silent Night from Gourmande Girls. The Christmas Eve palette does have those same tones in it. It has the navy blues, it has some purples that the Silent Night palette does not have. It does not have those purples, but it does have the blues. It has the pop of yellow. It does have this beautiful gold, and it has more of a grungy gold in here. Some of these shades in this palette do tend to lean a little bit more neutral depending on how you wear them. So like this one, it does look like it's almost like a grungy green shade, but honestly, when it's mixed with a little bit of blue, you really can't tell the difference. I really feel like with this eyeshadow palette, you could create some really similar looks to the Silent Night palette. I do encourage you to pull this eyeshadow palette out, take a look at it, take a look at some of the tutorials that you're seeing right now on YouTube with the Silent Night palette and see if you can recreate those looks with this palette. I've also seen the PLouise To Have and To Hold collaboration with Mikayla. And this eyeshadow palette actually reminded me of the Cosmic Brushes Winter Wonderland palette. And I wanted to talk about both of those eyeshadow palettes because they're actually really similar in color story. The only thing with the PLouise one is that it is like absolutely monstrosity huge, and it offers blues on one end and it offers neutrals on the other end. And the thing with these two palettes is that they are all blue and purple tone leaning. And there were a couple of palettes that I pulled out of my collection that were like blue and purple toned leaning. And the first one that I really wanted to talk about that really reminded me of the Winter Wonderland and the P. Louise palette was Serenity from Cosmic Brushes. And I'm actually wearing this eyeshadow palette today on my eyes. I did a whole blue look with this eyeshadow palette. Now, I actually purchased the Delicious Delights, the Serenity, and the Muse palette in a pack of 3 when they released Delicious Delights. So I actually have both of these because I was able to purchase all 3 of the eyeshadow palettes. The Serenity palette in particular, yes, you still have some of those like grungy green tones, but you do have a mint green in here, which is also featured in the Winter Wonderland palette. I love this blue shade. I actually used it as a crease shade today. You have a very pastel purple shade. And then you also have like a periwinkle. You have some like a duochrome. This one's kind of like hollowy, gritty. You have a dark blue. You have this like beautiful and almost looks like a snowdrop. Like it's so pretty. I was looking at the swatches between the Winter Wonderland palette and then taking a look at these two, Delicious Delights and Serenity. And I was thinking to myself, could I create a similar look between even just this one and the Winter Wonderland palette, or even Delicious Delights in the Winter Wonderland palette. Now, Winter Wonderland has a lot of, it's like a combination of periwinkles, a couple purples, a mint green is thrown in there. You have like a really like cerulean blue, a lot like this one. And then you also have like some iridescent multi-chromes in there as well, really dark purples. But honestly, I was taking a look at this one and I was literally taking a look at Serenity and I was thinking, if you purchase both of these palettes, could you dupe Winter Wonderland with these two? I did notice that like blue is a huge trend right now. Couple couple other honorable mentions that are like are purple, blue, like green leaning would definitely have to be the Sea Witch palette from Electrum Cosmetics. This is so beautiful, so stunning. And it still reflects those color stories that we're seeing a lot. This one definitely does. It has more purples in it than some of the color stories that we're seeing, but you can create some of those same looks that you're seeing that are like those deep blue and purple eyeshadow looks. Now this one has more turquoise shades, but it also has those beautiful iridescent shades that I can't get enough of. It's a 12 shade eyeshadow palette, 6 mattes, 6 multi-chrome, duochrome shades, and this is absolutely stunning. So if you have the Sea Witch palette, you might be able to take a look at that and see if you could create really similar like blue looks with that as well. Switching gears to a very high-end product, it is from Charlotte Tilbury. This was a part of the Charlotte Tilbury 2023 Christmas release. It's the Beautyverse palette. And I took a look at this palette and I was actually discussing like holiday palettes for 2023, the best holiday palettes that you could pull out of your collection and start playing with that create some like iridescent but neutral looks or even just like fun Christmas looks in general. That's what Christmas really reminds me of. And this eyeshadow palette actually brought a couple of eyeshadow palettes that I already have in my collection. The first one that I wanted to pull out was the Geoddes palette from What's Up Beauty. This one actually reminded me a lot of the new Charlotte Tilbury Beautyverse palette. This is such a similar color story to the Beautyverse palette from Charlotte Tilbury. But honestly, after watching some of the reviews and seeing like that it just isn't performing as well as what a lot of people expected it to for it being a $75 palette from Charlotte Tilbury. I was like, okay, guys, we got to talk about the fact that the Geoddes palette from What's Up Beauty is definitely a very, very similar color story and at a more affordable price point. If I remember correctly, this retails for like $45. And it is an independently owned makeup brand. They also do nail polish as well. They have What's Up Beauty and What's Up Nails. And What's Up Beauty obviously offers the Geoddes palette. This was released a couple years ago. And this has those same pops and shades that the Charlotte Tilbury does. So we'll take a look at the comparisons between the two. But the Charlotte Tilbury does have a really dark brown shade in it, which you have in this palette over here. You have like a medium shade and then kind of like a taupey shade. So like it does have really similar mattes. And then it has a lot of shimmers in it as well. Like you have like a metallic blue shade, which is really similar to this one. You have a purple shade and then like a true rose gold shade in a couple of these. I really feel like you could get some really similar looks with the Geoddes palette compared to the Charlotte Tilbury one. The other eyeshadow palette is the Mercury Retrograde from Huda Beauty. Now, this is a more high-end luxury eyeshadow palette, just like Charlotte Tilbury. Charlotte Tilbury is 9 pans. This one, obviously, not 9 pans. And again, What's Up Beauty, 14 shades, $45. This one was actually, I think Huda is actually discontinuing this. So if you can find this anywhere, definitely snag it while you can. And it actually was on her site at one point for a very, very discounted amount of like $13. I don't know if it's still available, but if it is, but if you have this palette, pull it out. This is a really similar color story to the Charlotte Tilbury Beautyverse as well. It has, this shade right here is definitely reminiscent of what's in the Charlotte Tilbury. We also have, a pop of blue in here. We have some of these like more mauve tones, but some of them are more cooler and warmer. Like it just is very reminiscent of the Charlotte Tilbury Beautyverse palette. I definitely like between the two of these, if you have one or both of these, you can create such a stunning eyeshadow look that is similar to the Charlotte Tilbury Beautyverse. Now, one thing Milani has released a new bronzer. A new bronzer. And honestly, I looked at it and I was like, oh gosh, that's so pretty. Because I love the Milani Silky Matte Bronzer. It is one of my favorites. But then I thought to myself, I already have a lot of cream bronzers in my collection. And I'm kind of wondering if one of these could just, just keep telling myself that I don't need this bronzer. I pulled out a couple of bronzers that could possibly and potentially be similar to the new Milani cream bronzer. And actually, both of them are more of an affordable option for me, but they're also in my collection. Now, I did featured this one in a full face of testing their favorites video. Kelly Gooch and Aniela Kanikvest rave about this. It's the Makeup Revolution Cream Bronzer. I actually have the shade medium, and I've actually done speed reviews on this. I've talked about this bronzer quite a bit. It is a very highly pigmented, blendable, beautiful formula. I haven't tried the Milani bronzer yet. Do I really want to try the Milani bronzer? I don't know, because I have this one in my collection. If you have the Makeup Revolution cream bronzer in your collection and you're thinking about purchasing the Milani one, just hold on a second and take this out and start loving on it again. The Makeup Revolution bronzer retails for $8. I believe the new Milani bronzer is probably going to be around the $12 price point because that's how much their Silky Matte bronzer is. It's like $11.99. And then I was also thinking to another cream bronzer that I have. I'm actually wearing it today because this one leans a little bit more warm toned, but it's also a really good alternative. I've heard it compared to like the NARS like cream bronzer, but I was also thinking like this could possibly be compared to the Milani one as well. There have been some reviews released on the Milani bronzer, and I've heard that it is a little bit more warm leaning, not cool toned leaning. I was like, okay, let's pull this one out. It is my Makeup Academy bronzed cream bronzer in the shade Butterscotch. Like I said, I'm wearing this shade today. This actually retails for £5.50. And when you convert it, I believe that's like about a $7 price point, and you do have to pay shipping for this one. But Makeup Academy has amazing makeup, and this bronzer is absolutely stunning. So if you have this bronzer, it even kind of smells like a cookie. I'm not going to lie. It smells like a cookie. I pulled out this bronzer because this bronzer actually kind of reminded me of the descriptions and the reviews that I'm seeing on the new Milani like cream bronzer. The Makeup Academy cream bronzer is a very like highly pigmented bronzer. I've used a brush and I have used a sponge with it. I personally like using a makeup sponge, like I have a Wet n Wild one. I just dip it in there and just like totally like pat this all over my face. It applies well with a brush as well. And if you have a brush that applies cream product as well, definitely try it with this one. But it's brush friendly. It is sponge friendly. It doesn't lift your makeup as well as the Makeup Revolution one. This one is brush friendly as well, sponge friendly as well. This one tends to lean a little bit more cool toned. Butterscotch from Makeup Academy tends to lean a little bit more warm toned. And then Kylie Cosmetics also came out with some new like blush cheek products. And what really came to mind were the Glow Balm from Kylie Cosmetics. I'll pop it up right here for you guys. The Kylie Cosmetics Glow Balms are available on the Kylie Cosmetics website. Typically, Ulta Beauty also has Kylie, but for some reason, it's not showing up on Ulta. But they do retail for $20 a piece. And when I saw these Glow Balms, I was like, a really good blush that honestly looks really similar to these Glow Balms would have to be the ones from Milani. There's the like Cheek Kiss blushes. I did end up purchasing like a trio of Cheek Kiss blushes, and I believe this retailed for like $12.99. Individually, the blushes do not retail for that. So I ended up buying a trio of the Milani Cheek Kiss blushes. This trio was $13.99, but you can buy the blushes individually for $10.99. Now this one came with 3 shades, and I have used all of them. They are absolutely stunning. Very easy pigmented blushes. When I looked at the Glow Balm from Kylie Cosmetics, immediately the packaging and the colors reminded me of the Cheek Kiss blushes from Milani. Now, you can buy the Cheek Kiss blushes from Milani on Ulta Beauty and wherever they sell Milani. The single compacts of the Cheek Kiss blushes from Milani retail for $10.99 on Ulta Beauty. Sometimes Ulta Beauty can be a little bit more, but let's just focus on this for now. You get 3 shades for $13.99, whereas one lip and cheek glow from Kylie Cosmetics retails for $20 USD. So you get 3 for almost the price of one. There's like a almost like a peachy pink, bright poppy pink shade. There's like a darker berry tone and then like a mauve pink shade. This is like the perfect like alternative to those Kylie Glow Balm like lip and cheek blushes. Now, I don't suggest using something that goes on your face to also put on your lips. Like sanitary wise, like that's just not very smart. Think of how dirty our lips are. Think of how dirty our mouth is, and then we're putting it on our face. Like it's like spitting on your face. Like just don't do it. But definitely, if you're looking for an alternative to those Kylie blushes, definitely take a look at the Milani blushes. If you have a Milani Cheek Kiss blush, definitely pull it out, start playing with it. Everyone is thinking this. I haven't really seen it talked about a lot, but I thought I would talk about it in this video as well. We had the release of a new Natasha Denona palette. It is the Natasha Denona Xenon palette. I do have this one. I want to do some like 3 looks, 1 palette with this, just to show you guys like to me how wearable it is. And I do love this eyeshadow palette. I don't have a full review on my channel. I just didn't have time to do it with Vegas, but I wanted to mention this possible dupe as well. Everybody is thinking about it. Everybody is. This is a $69 palette from Natasha Denona. I purchased this one because honestly, there are not very many palettes that are like this, like in the beauty universe. There's not very many just like black, white, gray, grungy palettes in the universe of makeup. There aren't. Because, and I bring this up because there's only one palette that really came to mind when I was looking at the Xenon palette. And that was the Blowin' Smoke palette. Blowin' Smoke is a 9-pan eyeshadow palette from ColourPop. This is also a really old, like this is an old palette to me. This is one of my, like I love this palette because it totally reminds me of like high school me when I would do a black smoky eye. That's what this palette reminds me of. And I decided to buy the Natasha Denona Xenon palette because I was thinking, yeah, let's try this out. I love Natasha Denona's formula. I don't use Blow and Smoke anymore typically because it's, you know, really old, but I love keeping it in my collection. There aren't a lot of eyeshadow palettes that look like this. There aren't a lot of eyeshadow colors. Like there's just not a color story that looks like this besides Blow and Smoke from ColourPop. If you are looking to purchase the Xenon palette, definitely check out the Blow and Smoke palette from ColourPop, especially if you feel like, you know, maybe this is too repetitive and like you don't have the vibes with this one. Definitely check out Blow and Smoke. It's 9 shades and it's a good alternative to the $69 eyeshadow palette that you get from Natasha Denona. Honestly, quality-wise, ColourPop has some really great eyeshadows. They're very blendable, very pigmented, very easy to use, and you can't go wrong with a ColourPop eyeshadow, and it's also very budget friendly. So if you have Blow and Smoke and you were thinking about maybe picking up the Xenon palette, you know, pull out this palette is so similar to the Xenon palette. It has a lot of similar shades, but honestly, this is the only one that I could think of personally that I have in my collection that is really, really similar to the Xenon palette. Now, there are some eyeshadow palettes that recently came out from Glamlight. We had Ghost Face and like Friday the 13th. Those were really, really similar as well, but they also had some like different variations and different shades in there as well. But honestly, the $69 Natasha Denona palette, if you're looking for something a little bit more affordable, definitely check out ColourPop. All right, guys, there you have it. I picked out some of the newest makeup releases. I wanted to give you guys alternatives to these new makeup releases. Are these some things that you guys have in your collection? And what were you eyeballing that was a new release that, you know, maybe I gave an alternative for? If you guys like content like this, conscious consumerism, please, you know, consider subscribing. I hope you like this video and I hope I get to see you in my next video. Bye.